to hear that the interim payment for tax for post office postmasters has now gone up from £163,000, that itself going up from £70,000 now to £450,000, makes perfect sense. Many of these people have already paid out £200,000 themselves from their own pocket because the post office grabbed that money, because the post office embezzled that money, because the post office stole that money. And that's over a period of 20 years, these people have been impoverished by a nasty, grabbing, selfish and haughty institution backed up by government intransigence and government disdain and government control. And quite right that Kevin Hollingrake is now saying that these are unprecedented but the right thing to do. What is unprecedented, perhaps, is the fact that the institutions of power have been caught out in this instance. Caught out, and therefore they need to pay up. And they need to do so sooner rather than later. That's now apparently going to happen. There's another compensation scheme called the Group Litigation Order Scheme. It should now be able to, should now ensure that people get 80% of their offer paid out, even if they decide to fight for a better deal. It's perfectly correct. I wouldn't trust the system anymore if I were a postmaster who'd been through this sort of ordeal, who'd been put in prison simply because I was doing the right thing, simply because I was honourable. I wouldn't trust the system. Why would you trust the system? Why would anybody trust the system? Even if I were offered something like £70,000, £200,000, £450,000, I wouldn't trust the system. Actually, nobody was offered £200,000. They were offered £163,000. Sorry. Many people who've been to prison, many postmasters and postmistresses who've been to prison for false accounting and theft, were financially ruined and their reputations completely trashed in public. 101 convictions have been overturned. I don't understand why it takes so long when the principle is clear that this is a miscarriage of justice. We're now, 2 months into the new year. Alan Bates versus the post office already there. The government is saying, oh, but we're already dealing with things before that. That little drama didn't spill us. Okay, fine. So 3 months, 4 months. But in fact, the judgment that made it clear that the postmasters and postmistresses had been abused for years was made in 2019. There's been plenty of time. 101 convictions overturned. That's modest. That's slight. That's laughable, frankly. And the wheels of justice turn slowly. Yeah. And the people who are effecting that justice, the judges, the lawyers, the barristers, the solicitors, are raking in money, as is the government. Well, it's time to put the shoe on the other foot. And the people who should be getting the money are the people who have been abused by the system, by control. And not just by the Conservative government, by the Labour government as well. None of these people can pat themselves on the back and look satisfied. The Conservative Party, the Labour Party, the Liberal Party, all involved in this mess. Because in the end, it's all about control of other people. £160 million paid out to over 2,700 claimants over 3 different schemes. Still not enough. Still not enough. No minister can pat themselves on the back over this. This is an appalling abuse of justice and an appalling tardiness